Contraception, the options quick and dirty. As you can see in this 1860 lithograph titled The Cautious Lover, contraception or birth control has been on our minds throughout the history of man. Let's explore how it all began. From ancient times, people have practiced various methods of birth control that still exist today, such as coitus interruptus, or the pull-out method, coitus reservatus, or sex with no release, prolonged breastfeeding, abortion, and infanticide. Though I don't really consider that last one birth control, just population control. They also used a wide variety of materials to act as barriers, spermicides, sterilizing agents, or abortifacients. Some examples of this are barriers created with animal intestines, elephant or crocodile dung, or sponges made of cotton or wool. They also created vaginal suppositories composed of cabbage, honey, rock salt, chalk, or various plants. Yikes. Today we like to do things the Western medicine way. These devices all work by altering the levels of estrogen and/or progestin in your system. Whenever you mess with your hormones, be aware that you might have side effects. These might include things like irregular menstrual cycles or spotting, mood swings, weight gain, breast tenderness, nausea, and headaches. It depends on what qualities you're seeking in a birth control method, but if there was a best option in this group, it would be the IUC, or intrauterine contraception. Why? Because it's extremely effective. You have it put in once, leave it there, and it lasts for 5 years. Your partner will probably never even notice it. Also, because it's an intrauterine system and not a medication that you're digesting, it offers a much lower dose of hormone, equaling less side effects for you. If you don't want to play around with your hormones, you'll opt for one of these devices. You'll notice that the IUC also appears on this list because there is a copper version of it that doesn't contain any hormone. The copper alters the pH of the uterus and prompts the release of hostile compounds that act as spermicides, like prostaglandins. Again, for your best option from this crowd, it depends on what you're shopping for and your method of contraception, but the IUC is the most effective long-term method on the list. However, please note that the plastic Mirena IUC noted on the previous list is now a vastly more popular option than the copper IUC model noted on this list. Lastly, these methods typically don't include any use of medicines or devices other than calendars, pens, and papers, and because of this, they tend to have much lower rates of effectiveness. The calendar method involves a simple chart of your 28-day cycle on a calendar, and the body temperature is a basic way to track when ovulation might have occurred. The fertility awareness method, also called natural family planning, kind of involves these two things and a little bit more. It's a more intense checking of your cycle by tracking body temperatures and cervical mucus levels. Finally, the lactational method can be effective for a while after childbirth, as long as a woman is breastfeeding every so many hours and her period hasn't returned yet. None of these is really strong enough for me to offer a best option from this list. I think your best bet is to choose something from the other two lists if you're not ready for 18 plus years of responsibility. So who's the winner? If you choose not to abstain because we all know that abstinence is 100% effective, you should get snipped, or opt for intrauterine contraception. Sterilization and IUCs are both about 99.5% effective. Many insurance companies even pay for sterilization. Contraceptive injections are a close third option with about 98% effectiveness. Basically, any option that doesn't rely on you, therefore allowing user error, is a better option. For instance, the pill, the patch, and the ring are all fairly reliable. They've got success rates above 95%. If you take them regularly as prescribed, avoid mixing them with conflicting medicines or supplements like antibiotics and St. John's wort. Don't get sick with diarrhea or vomiting, so you purge the medicine or dilute it. If you don't gain more weight than the manufacturer's effective weight range for the medication, etc., etc., etc. As you can see, there's a lot of room for error with these things. To dispel a couple of myths, yes, it's perfectly safe to have less periods per year on a pill like Seasonique, or no periods per year with a device like an IUC. The hormones in the medication prevent the lining of your uterus from thickening to the point where it can support an implanted embryo. So if there's no lining to shed, you don't menstruate. And yes, you can still get pregnant while you're on your period, in a hot tub, standing up, or breastfeeding. And no, douching or peeing after sex will not prevent pregnancy. Douching actually forces sperm farther up the cervix. However, it is a good idea to pee after sex because it helps lessen your risk of urinary tract infections. And yes, you can still get pregnant if he pulls out, just puts in the tip, or you didn't really go all the way. If sperm finds its way to your vagina through pre-cum or dripping, or whatever, you can become pregnant. It's unlikely, but you can. The only item on any of these lists that can help lessen your risk of STIs is the good old barrier method known as the condom. They're not always fun, but they help keep you alive and wart, rash, blister, bump, crab, leak, and pain-free. Many STIs have no outward symptoms but result in fertility issues down the road. And for oral activities, make sure you use a dental dam. And now for the credits.